Have you ever said yes to something even when every part of you desperately wanted to say no? That small moment might seem harmless, but over time, it can quietly steal your peace, your time, and even your very identity. Today's story is about a simple word, a powerful word, a life-changing word. No.
In a quiet town, there once lived a young man named Daniel. He was known as the nicest person anyone had ever met. If someone needed help, Daniel was always there. If someone asked for a favor, Daniel never refused. And if someone placed their burden on him, he carried it without a single complaint.
At first, people admired him. They praised his kindness. Daniel is such a good man, they'd say. And hearing that made him feel proud, needed, important. But slowly, something began to change. Daniel's days grew longer, and his nights grew shorter. He'd help his colleagues finish their work even if his own tasks remained incomplete. He'd attend gatherings he didn't enjoy just to avoid disappointing others. He'd lend money he couldn't afford to lose. And every time he felt uncomfortable, he'd whisper to himself, "It's okay. I don't want to hurt anyone." But in trying not to hurt others, Daniel was hurting himself. One evening, after a long, exhausting day, Daniel sat alone in his room. His phone kept buzzing. Messages, requests, favors, expectations. He stared at the screen, feeling a strange heaviness in his chest. For the first time, he asked himself, "Why am I always tired, even when I'm doing good things?" He didn't have an answer. Days passed, and the pressure only grew. One of his friends asked him to manage an important project, something Daniel had no time for. He wanted to say no, he really did, but as always, the words wouldn't come out. "Sure, I'll do it," he said. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. The next morning, while walking through a park, Daniel saw an old man sitting on a bench, calmly feeding birds. There was something peaceful about him, something different. Daniel sat beside him, and after a moment of silence, he spoke. "I don't understand something. I try to be kind to everyone, but I feel empty, tired, lost." The old man smiled gently and asked, "Tell me, when was the last time you were kind to yourself?" Daniel looked confused. "What do you mean? I help people all the time." The old man nodded and replied, "Yes, you help others, but do you ever protect your own time, your own energy, your own peace? Kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. Saying yes to everything is not kindness. It is fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of disappointing others."
Daniel stayed silent, but inside him something shifted. That day, Daniel made a decision. A small one, but a difficult one. He would say no just once. Later that evening, his colleague called him and said, "Hey Daniel, can you finish my report tonight? I'm a bit busy." Daniel's heart started beating faster. His mind filled with excuses. His old habit whispered, "Just say yes." But this time, he paused. Taking a deep breath, he said, "I'm sorry, I can't do it tonight. I have my own work to finish." There was a moment of silence. Then the colleague replied, "Oh, okay, no problem." The call ended. And something unexpected happened. The world didn't collapse. The friendship didn't break. No one got angry. Instead, Daniel felt lighter, freer, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders.
Encouraged by this, Daniel started practicing more. Not aggressively, not rudely, but honestly. When he was tired, he said, "I need rest." When he was busy, he said, "I can't take this right now." When something didn't feel right, he said no. At first, it felt uncomfortable. People were surprised. Some even said, "You've changed." And they were right. Daniel had changed. For the first time, he was choosing himself. As weeks passed, something beautiful happened. Daniel's life became balanced. He had time for his work, his health, and his peace of mind. The people who truly respected him stayed, and those who only used him slowly faded away. He finally understood something important. Saying no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you self-aware. It doesn't push people away, it attracts the right people. And most importantly, it gives you back control of your life. One day, Daniel returned to the same park and saw the old man again. He smiled and said, "I understand now." The old man looked at him and asked, "What did you learn?" Daniel replied, "I learned that every time I say yes to something I don't want, I say no to myself. But when I say no with honesty, I say yes to my peace." The old man nodded, his eyes full of wisdom, and said, "That is the power of saying no." In life, we often believe that being good means always agreeing, always helping, always sacrificing. But true strength lies in balance. If we don't set boundaries, people will set them for us, and often at our expense. So learn to say no, not with anger, not with guilt, but with clarity and respect. Because sometimes one small no can protect your entire life. Our time, our energy, and our peace are valuable. Use them wisely. Pass this episode on to someone who needs to hear this story.